Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to week 22 of the WiggyWam Get Your Property Questions Answered webinar and podcast series. I hope you're doing really, really well this week and that your week has started well and has continued to go well throughout, and that your week has been nothing like mine, where unfortunately I had a very silly incident the other night. Don't know quite what was taken over me. I'd kind of been resting after a very, very busy day, just for sort of half an hour, just taking a load off my mind, and then decided to get into my partner's car and move it. But there is quite a difference in height between the two of us, so thought I could try and do it without adjusting the seat, and managed to reverse the car into the house, of course, which was an interesting episode. So, needless to say, repair bills abound for that, and a slight disagreement between the two of us over that sort of an issue. But interestingly, I was talking to a gentleman today who said that a lamppost had jumped out at him on Morrison's car park the other day as well. So it seems to be there's something in the air at the moment rather than just my own stupidity. But that aside, I just wanted to check in first of all with you guys and girls who are watching this. I'm keen to know, as we're now sort of coming towards the end of, well, we're at the end of January, beginning of February now, 2023, what's actually going on in the market in your area? You know, are you seeing prices going up still, which would be perhaps unusual, but, you know, certain areas of the country are still in demand? Are you starting to see prices come down? Are properties just sticking on the market a little bit longer? Interestingly, I was sent an article this morning about the, I think it was the top 10 price reductions of properties in Leeds. And some of these properties were being reduced in price by anywhere between sort of 20 to, I think the biggest was like 40% drop in price, which is crazy, really. Now, let's not forget that's asking prices, not necessarily selling prices, but one has to wonder whether or not a lot of the heat has gone out of the market. And certainly with interest rates on the rise at the moment as well, that's got to be affecting, you know, consumer confidence. So let me know, give me some feedback about what's going on in the market in your area. Either comment below this video or podcast that whatever you're listening to, or send in your information to us, send it in through to us. You can come on our website, which is wiggywam.co.uk. And you can sign up there, grab a free profile on our website, and then feed that information back to us, connect with myself or any of us on the WiggyWam community there, and let us know what's going on with the property market in your area there. Or you can email it through to us, happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. That's happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. And just let us know. Really keen to find out what's going on in the market in your area. For those of you that don't know, if you've never watched one of these webinars before, we're here every week answering your pertinent property questions, everything from, you know, if you're a first-time buyer or somebody who's just venturing into the market for the first time after a long time, we're here to answer all of your questions. If you're an estate agent or solicitor or a surveyor or mortgage broker who wants to grow their business, we're here to help you, to support you in that journey as well. And it's all really about providing as much value as we can to our audience, to our tribe, to our community, if you like, and also, you know, giving people an opportunity to get answers to questions that they wouldn't necessarily otherwise be able to ask, or feel that they were getting, you know, an answer that isn't, shall we say, a watered down version of the truth, as you sometimes see on some internet sites and blogs and all the rest of it. And as always, ladies and gents, I'll always put myself out there to say, look, if I am wrong, if any of the answers I've given to any of these questions, in your opinion, is wrong, I'm more than happy to stand corrected, more than happy for you to come on one of these episodes and you know, let's kick it around. Let's challenge. There's always more than one way to skin a cat, isn't there? Although I've yet to meet somebody who's actually skinned a cat in their life. So yeah, it's an interesting. But actually, that's not actually true. I did meet a taxidermist once who was a good friend of my father's, and he had a wonderful property that was out in the country. We used to go and see him, and it used to fascinate me that we'd see all these sort of stuffed animals everywhere. I didn't really realize, I think I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 at the time. I didn't really realize what a taxidermist actually did. And then I got taken into his, shall we say, his workshop where the actual event happened. And yeah, as a young child, I think I was scarred for life as far as that was concerned. So yeah, never again. But apart from him, never yet met anybody who knew there's a skin a cat. So I think the important point is, you know, let's encourage lively debate. I do believe that people have different ways of solving different challenges and different problems with property. So yeah, more than happy to engage in that debate and, you know, ultimately just guide people through their moving journey. I think moving house is one of the top 3 most stressful things that we go through in our lives, and it's important that people feel that they're supported in that journey. And I know there's a lot of estate agents and solicitors out there and other property professionals that do a really good job in supporting their clients, and we're here to boost that as much as possible, and as I say, give people an outlet for questions that they might not otherwise be able to get answered elsewhere. So without further ado, let's get straight into question number 1 this week that comes in from Marty. Hi there, Marty. Thank you for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. Marty's question is, we want to put a house on the market and have had valuations from someone called Strike and a local estate agent. Strike are free and the estate agents are charging 1%. If Strike charge nothing and the local agent charges a fee, there must be a reason. What does a normal agent do that Strike doesn't? 1%, it will cost us approximately 10 grand, so it would be a huge saving. After all, the only thing I can think the agent does extra is the viewings, which we're happy to do ourselves. Is there some elephant in the room we are missing here, as how can Strike run a business for free? Well, it's a great question, Marty, and the name of the online agent seems quite apparent in today's society, bearing in mind all of the disruption that we've been experiencing this last week or so with the strikes that have been occurring up and down the country. Pardon the pun. But yeah, interesting question that you've raised here, Marty, around the different business models between a traditional high street agent, if we want to use that term, and an online-only agent. Now, what I would encourage you to do, Marty, is, if I can put this delicately and without singling out anybody's particular business model or marketing tactics, but look behind the marketing headlines, because with these sorts of services that are being offered for free, there is usually some kind of back end, to use a marketing term, or some kind of structure that allows a business to recoup a fee, shall we say, or a commission, for want of a better word, or some kind of income, rather than actually just doing all the work for free. And I think if you look on their website, you can understand that, from what I can see, Strike's business model, they're quite transparent in what they're saying, is that, you know, that there are a number of different value add services that, as they put it, that you can bolt on as part of your moving journey with them. Now, this is not an endorsement either way, whether you go for traditional high street or online only. I tend to, if I'm honest, have the bias towards more traditional high street agents, purely because I've been one. And I think sometimes it's nice to know that, well, first of all, I suppose you walk down if you walk down the high street and you see your property in the window, there's a certain sense of pride, or, yeah, actually, I can see that they're doing their job. Some people like to say, but the point is that you can see your property is there. You can go into the agency's office, have a chat with them, talk things through with them. And I'm not saying that isn't something that's available with Strike, but usually if they haven't got a central office, it's difficult to go and have that sort of a conversation, okay? Now, the bolt-on value-added extras that I just mentioned, they may also be apparent in a traditional high street agent's business as well. So they may well be making recommendations to mortgage brokers or solicitors and receiving a referral fee coming back from them as well. So it's fair to say the two business models are quite similar, shall we say, but there is obviously this headline that suggests you can sell your house for free if you want to. And that might be called, I think, in marketing parlance, I think it used to be called a loss leader, where something would be offered as a discounted front-end product or service in order to then encourage people to go in and buy, or, you know, generate the interest, create the marketing activity or the audience to sell to. And then once that person's in there, what they call the marketing funnel, then they have the opportunity to upsell them to different products and services. Okay, so I would look a little bit beyond that and understand, you know, what the costs are associated with doing things like, I think there's a marketing boost option, and I did see a post once on a forum where somebody suggested that they had gone down a similar route to what you're thinking here, Marty. And by the time they'd worked out all the different extras, it was actually on a par with a traditional agent anyway. So don't be necessarily swayed by what's free, or rather than paying a fee. In some instances, Marty, it's actually smarter to pay more to an agent or to a solicitor in order to get what you want out of the deal, which is, to sell at the best possible price and to make a move as quickly and as healthily as possible. Okay, and I use the word healthy in a very loose term there, but moving house is stressful, right? So you don't want it to drag on, and you don't want it to become a bit of a living nightmare, which is what can happen for a lot of people, and that's why a good agent is worth their weight in gold as far as guiding you through the journey. Now, what I would say is, at the end of the day, Marty, whichever way you want to go, I think you said you've only had 2 valuations at the moment. It might be worth getting a third, okay, just for comparison. Because if you're the other temptation that people do, Marty, in your situation is to choose an agent based on price. So they tend to go with the one with the highest valuation and the lowest fee. All right, and that's not necessarily sensible a thing to do, Marty. I don't encourage that at all. I actually encourage going for a realistic valuation, okay, and a sensible pricing structure. And that will depend based on the menu of services, if you like, that the agent's offering you that will assist you in terms of selling the property, okay? And the real area where an estate agent earns their money, particularly in the current market, is not necessarily finding the buyer and negotiating the deal, although those are very important elements, obviously. It's actually keeping the deal together through to completion. So when issues come up, as unfortunately tends to always happen, there's problems that need to be dealt with and all the rest of it. The estate agent that is proactive and deals with these problems and these complaints and these issues, and they dive right into it headlong, then they will actually be able to, keep that deal together, get you through to exchange of contracts, and that's when you will breathe a sigh of relief, because you go, okay, the deal's done. We know what's happening now. We know when we're moving, and go with the estate agent that you feel is going to give you that best level of service and give you the most honest advice. Because, again, one of the other things to think of, Marty, in today's market is, if the market's starting to drop, you're going to need somebody who's not only just going to be proactive, but is also going to give you the best marketing advice and pricing advice to get the property sold as soon as possible. So I hope that answers your question, Marty. I really wish you the best of luck with that, and hope that you can find a buyer as soon as possible and move home to your new place of residence as soon as you like. All right, thanks for that. Moving on, question number 2 comes in from Colette. Hi there, Colette. Thanks for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. Colette says, we're first-time buyers. We bought our first property, which is a 2-bedroom flat. I don't want it to be our forever home, and I want a house, but had to go for a flat as that's all our financial situation would allow us to buy in the current market. How does it work when the time comes for us to buy something bigger? Do we use the equity for our next deposit, and if so, how? Okay, Colette, well, thank you for the question, and great to see that you're already thinking ahead, although obviously I understand the frustration in the marketplace of trying to buy the right property that you want to buy and being priced out of the market because prices have moved up so much recently. Look, the way to look at this, and probably the easiest way I can explain this to you, is to try and use some round figure examples, Colette, as to how your deposit works in a property and how equity also works in a property as well. Okay, now equity, just to give you some background, is the difference between what you own and what you owe. Now, just to clarify that, let's say, for example, this property that you were buying here, this 2-bed flat, was £100,000 purchase price, just to use round numbers, okay? And you put down a £10,000 deposit to buy it, which would be 10%, okay? Now, your equity in that property would be £10,000, okay? And your liability would be £90,000, which is your mortgage, okay? Now, let's say, for example, you live in that property for 2 years, the market goes up by 10%. Now the property value is worth £110,000, okay? Your liability is still £90,000, assuming you've not paid a chunk off the mortgage in the time that you've lived there, but your equity will have doubled from the original £10,000 deposit that you put in to now because your property value is increased by another 10,000. Does that make sense? So you've got your 10,000 you put in originally, plus your increase in equity by 10,000. So your total equity is then 20,000. Now, at the time when it comes for you to buy your next property, you've got two options. Okay, your first option would be to sell the property, so you could sell it and you could realize your gain, as it's called, and that would mean you would get back £20,000 from the example I've just given you, minus all of the fees associated with selling a property. Okay, you could then take that cash and then put it into the next property that you want to buy. So you would take that 20,000, top it up with a mortgage, and then buy another property. Okay. Now, again, during that term of ownership, that 2-year period, your earnings might have increased, and therefore you might be able to qualify for a bigger, a better mortgage, and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of factors that kind of go on here, Colette, in terms of buying it. Your second option, as I mentioned, is that you might, if you say you live here for 5, 7, 10 years, something like that, in this flat, there might come a point when you're looking to buy your next property, but you don't necessarily need to sell this one to recover the equity that's in it. So what you might want to consider doing is doing what we call a refinancing exercise or a remortgage exercise, where you would put maybe a buy-to-let mortgage on the property, okay, extract some of the equity, and then put that into the next property that you're going to buy. And if you want a little bit of, if you want to do some actual numbers on this to try and clarify it in your own mind, I'd be happy if you want to send me the exact numbers that you're working with, and we can kind of throw some figures around and give you some more sort of concrete examples that apply to your situation. But hopefully, in essence, the sort of description that I've given you will allow you to see how it allows you to move through up the housing ladder, should I say. Now, if this all sounds a little bit complicated and you're thinking, oh my goodness, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, there are a couple of people that will help you with this in your moving journey. One of them would be your mortgage broker, who will sit down and actually do the pound, shillings and pence exercise in terms of your affordability for when you come to buy the next property, probably similar to the journey that you've already had as a first-time buyer to go and buy the two-bed flat. And then the second person who will help you with that, it would be the conveyancing solicitor, who will do a statement, a completion statement, should I say, when it comes to the completion of the purchase of your next property. And that will show you where all the money has moved as a result of this exercise, from the cash that's come in from the sale of your property, the mortgage that's then come in on the next mortgage that you're getting for the other property, the amount that you've had to pay back on the first property, and then everything that's left that goes into the acquisition of the second property. So hope that's not been too convoluted, Colette. Hope it's given you a bit of an outline as to what's actually required and how this all works. But as I say, if you want to go through those exact numbers, I'd be happy to do that with you. Or again, you can talk them through with your mortgage broker or your solicitor at the time when it comes to buying your next home. All right. So best of luck with all of that. Hope you're happy in your property. And let's hope there's some growth in the housing market so that your equity position will increase over the course of the next few years. All right. So good luck, Colette. And let us know if we can help you any further. Okay, moving on. Question number 3 comes in here from Darren. Hi there, Darren. Thanks very much for your question and for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. So Darren says, we have approximately £800,000 in equity in our property and have been in discussions with our close friends since school about selling up and buying a joint property together that we both live in. We're considering spending approximately £1 million on the new property between us. We are both semi-retired and get on really well together. Our work is not location dependent, so we can work anywhere. We are thinking of buying a property somewhere in the north, as we currently live in London. We want a large property that we could turn into 2 separate accommodations. We're looking at all the benefits through rose-tinted glasses, including well into the future of having companionship should any of us pass away. My question is, what are the downsides of such an arrangement, particularly in terms of legally and financially? We both have grown-up children, so thinking here in terms of inheritance and any other problems we might not know of. Well, okay there, Darren, thank you for your question. Quite in-depth, that one, and interesting to see how you're looking towards the future in terms of your housing options and what may or may not be appropriate. The good news for you is that if you're selling coming out of London, everything up in the northeast or the north of the country is going to look considerably cheaper than it does in London, and you're probably going to get a lot better value for money, which is amazing. So Yeah, it would be really interesting to see what property you do end up with. £1 million will buy you quite a nice chunk of property up in the north of the country, depending upon what it actually is you want to buy and where it is that you want to buy. Now, I want to address something in your question because you've raised a really interesting point, and the challenge is, let's say I'm assuming, and forgive me if I've got this wrong, but I'm assuming that there's two couples that are looking to buy one property, split it into two, and then live there because you've both got your own bit of England, as it were. You've got your own space, and that's how you want to do it. Now, there's a couple of challenges, I would say, in terms of having one property, even if it is split into two, owned by four people. And that comes from personal experience of owning properties with other people, and also the complications and the problems that come with unfortunately the next stage, which would be unfortunately when we all pass on and then we have to leave assets to other people, that there can be a lot of complications in terms of getting around inheritance issues, or actually what the beneficiaries of the estate want to achieve as a result of being left this property. Okay, so the one thing I'm going to say straight away is, if you are taking on a property, whether it's let's say it's currently a 4 or 5 bedroom home, and you decide to split it into 2 flats, or you decide to buy a house and split it into 2 semis, whatever it is that you decide to buy, as well as doing the renovation works to convert the property, you might also want to think about doing an exercise with your solicitor, which is to split the legal title. Okay, now that probably sounds complicated. I promise you it isn't. It's an exercise that you can do with your solicitor. Depending upon the scale of the property, it's not going to cost you a huge amount of money to do this, and it is literally a paper exercise. I used to teach an example of this that I did when I bought a freehold with 2 flats, not dissimilar situation to this, although the values were significantly smaller. And what I did was actually split the freehold and created 2 new leasehold titles. Okay, and that massively increased the value of the properties because they were no longer tied to this awkward entity, which was the freehold. Okay. And so by splitting the legal title, which is, as I say, it's a paperwork exercise. It just means 2 new titles and then created at land registry, assuming that it's one property that you're converting into 2, and whether that's vertically, as in 2 flats, one on top of the other, or horizontally, as in 2 semis side by side. By splitting that legal title via your solicitor, then you end up with 2 separate properties with their own individual title, and then both families or both couples can reside there with their own piece of England, and that removes all the headaches as far as any inheritance tax, any inheritance that becomes due when you're passing that property on to some children, as it were, in the future. Because if you've got 4 people and you're trying to coordinate the sale of that property, which is still, somebody else's home, it's going to be a nightmare, and there's going to be a lot of falling out. The point of doing it this way is that right from day one, it makes everything really clean. So God forbid, and it does happen, but God forbid you end up falling out and you decide to move. Well, you can do that free and easy and clear. There's no problems. You don't need to worry about asking for their permission to agree to sell, and then they won't buy you out because they can't afford to raise money against the property to pay you your chunk of equity. So you're stuck living next to somebody that you don't want to live next to. I mean, these are all the sort of nightmare scenarios that can go on. You just want to have a little bit more control and independence, if you like, around this sort of situation. Okay. So that's what I would do if I was in your shoes. The other thing to do, I would suggest quite carefully, if you've never gone through a building or conversion or development project yourself previously, then I would probably sit down as 2 or 4 very level-headed people over a cup of tea and thrash out some of the things that you want to achieve as a result of this exercise, and start to put pen to paper and map out a bit of an agreement between the 2 of you, including what you're going to do as a result of the renovation or conversion works of this property. Now, this is particularly important if you are financially imbalanced coming into the transaction. Okay, and this also applies to the purchase of the property originally. But when you're doing the conversion and renovation works, this is a time of great stress potentially. It's very easy for people to fall out. It's very easy for things to go wrong on site, and then you end up in an argument, and then tempers flare up, and then things get said that shouldn't perhaps get said, and all the rest of it. So it's about having a working agreement as to who's going to take responsibility for what, who's paying for what, and in the end, in the event of a default, of an issue, of a problem, how do they get resolved? Okay, because the last thing you want is to go into this project, rose-tinted glasses, as you say, great relationship together, and then you end up falling out as a result of it. It's just going to eat you all up, and there's going to be a lot of more ill feeling because of the length of the relationship that's been lost. So I hope that helps in terms of the approach. And just to add to that financial imbalanced equation, you mentioned that the property value would be about £1 million that you're looking to buy, and you've got about 800,000 of equity. Now, I don't know whether you're looking at putting 500,000 each into the transaction, which would be the most sensible way to do it. Okay, because then you're, as I say, financially equal. You're equal partners, if you like, into this whole project. As I say, going in financially unbalanced or imbalanced may not be such a good idea unless there's some mechanism where everybody agrees, what, actually, you're putting 800,000 in, we're only putting in 200,000. How does that work in terms of ownership? Particularly, as I've just mentioned, splitting the title. It's very easy in black and white if it's a dead straightforward exercise. If you're buying a bigger property and you're putting 800,000 in, so you get 80% of the value of the property and they get 20% of the value of the property, that's when you end up in all sorts of issues, because, as I say, you end up back to that situation of 4 people owning one property, and if they decide to ask you to sell or vice versa, that then could become a legal minefield to work your way through. So I hope that's given you a comprehensive answer there, Darren. Wishing you the best of luck. It sounds exciting. Sounds like it could be a really great project. And I wish you all the best of luck, because it'd be wonderful to, shall we say, grow old with those school friends. And as you say, you've got people there around you. You've got that companionship long into the future, and I hope it all works out for you. So let us know if there's anything else that we can do to help as well. But good luck. All right, moving on. Question number 4 comes in here from Shelley. Hi there, Shelley. Thanks for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. So Shelley says, I was sent a link to your site on LinkedIn by someone in my network. I'm a conveyancer and being asked on behalf of our firm to ask what exactly your WiggyWam platform can do for us. We are keen to know if we could use your platform instead of paying referral fees to estate agents, as we currently pay around £150 per referral. Your platform says £47 per month all in. Is that correct, as it seems pretty low? Are there any charges we would need to take account of? What's the catch? All right, well, thank you, Shelley. Thanks for that question. And how can I put it? I'd like to think that we're offering exceptional value in terms of what we're offering to our sort of conveyancing partners, if you like. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can approach this depending upon what's right for you and your business. But ultimately, by working alongside WiggyWam, you've got a couple of different options. And I'll start with the first option that you've raised, which is the, pay the £47 a month, advertise your services on WiggyWam. Now, we provide a whole suite of tools that will enable you to shall we say, deliver conveyancing in perhaps a more efficient manner than you're currently doing. Okay, and I say that with a whole lot of love and respect, because I'm sure you're doing an amazing job as conveyancers at the moment. But the point is the biggest thing that I'm seeing coming up more and more and more and more and more, the longer we do these webinars for, the longer we engage with the general public. The number one biggest fear of anybody who's moving home, okay, is this fear of the unknown. And that's particularly apparent to first-time buyers that are stepping into the marketplace. And it's estimated that something like 40% of first-time buyers are so nervous about entering the marketplace because they're worried they're going to be fleeced, or they're going to get it wrong, or there's something that's going to go upside down and cause them a financial loss. They're so worried that they don't bother entering the market. And so this fear of the unknown is a major, major roadblock that we need to demolish together as property professionals. And the way we've chosen to do that within WiggyWam is to provide an educational-based journey, first of all, for clients, which I think is really important. Now, for being a conveyancer on the site, you would then be able to recommend our site to potential clients, for example. So a client comes to you, they want you to do the conveyancing work for them. You could recommend them to come to our site, and we've provided a whole bunch of training videos on there that show them how to make their moving journey a whole lot easier, simpler, faster, better, and more cost-effective. Notice I didn't say cheaper, okay? And we also have, just bear with me a second, we also have other resources, particularly in relation to home buyer secrets. Now, again, the reason I'm mentioning these is not to promote the sale of books or anything like that, but it's because of this education journey, this fear of the unknown. The more educated your clients are, the easier they are to deal with. Okay, that is fundamentally a truth in any industry. Okay, generally speaking, the more educated your clients are, the easier time that you're going to have of working with them. They're going to know what to expect as a result of this moving journey. As a consequence, you haven't got to spend time educating them in the process, which is expensive for you because you're using your most valuable resource, which is labor, to educate people in what's involved in the moving process, when they can go out and buy a book for not a lot of money at all and understand the process in a lot more detail than you can probably spend on the phone for 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it might be. Plus, backed up with that is the learning library or the learning center within WiggyWam. Plus, you've got a whole host of communication tools that we provide for you in terms of similar to a Zoom call or a Skype call, for example, built in. We have workspaces that allow you to manage transactions through to completion. And then there are the other complementary services that we offer that allow people to move home quickly, such as a seller's pack, such as a twin search option, which is fast track searches for properties, okay, such as our protect your pocket policies, okay, which will underwrite the client's legal fees and moving expenses, so that if their deal falls through, then they can get a payout that covers their costs. So we put a lot of thought into making this an ecosystem centered around the ultimate paymaster, if you like, which is the buyer and the seller. Okay, so hopefully you can start to see how that would fit into as a real complement, Shelley, to you acting as a conveyancer for your clients when you have the power of WiggyWam by your side. Okay, now we do offer a secondary level, if you like, and that is what we call the conveyancing concierge service, and that is not for everyone. That is not for every conveyancer, because a lot of conveyancers won't necessarily want to sign up to our service level agreement, which is to be exchange ready within 6 weeks. Okay, now a lot of conveyancers will probably throw their hands up in horror and go, there's no way we can do exchange ready within 6 weeks. Look, it's about, as I say, bringing all of these tools to your aid in order to try and get these deals through to completion as quickly as possible. And that's really what we pride ourselves in as a conveyancing concierge conveyancer, which is a bit of a mouthful, okay? But if you were to join the ranks of the elite, if you like, as part of our site is concerned, then you would be doing what we call premium level conveyancing work. And what I mean by that is typically the fees that we charge for that are much higher than most conveyancers are charging for the work that they do. But the reason for the premium is to give you the time to dedicate to the file so that you're dealing with a lower caseload, okay, and are able to spend the time that you really want to on that file, managing it through to exchange of contracts as quickly as possible. Because what I've heard in the industry is that there's many conveyancers out there that are overburdened. They're having to carry way too many files. I'm hearing numbers of 100, 150, up to 200 files, that an individual conveyancer is having to manage at any one time. And the primary reason for that, Shelley, is because the conveyancing solicitor is not charging enough to cover the man hours that is required to actually put the time and effort into doing that really good job and a really fast, thorough job up front, because they've got to balance all these other clients. Okay, so we work the other way around. We'd much rather go at a higher fee, premium service, lower caseload, lower amount of work to do in terms of servicing a whole bunch of other clients. But we're bringing all these tools to your aid to get it all done under one roof as quickly as possible. So I hope that helps. We'd really love you to join our platform. It goes without saying, Shelley, and I'm trying not to make this sound like a massive sales pitch as you've asked the question, but I think it's important to let you know how we work. And the real objective of the exercise is to get buyers and sellers moving home a lot quicker. And, if you look at auction purchases, for example, or auction sales, that is done fairly readily straight away, 28 days, the exchange on the day, to a complete 28 days later or 14 days later. And it happens because you're usually working with experienced buyers and sellers who know the game, they know what they're doing, all of the information is prepared up front. And that is exactly how these deals get done through auction a lot quicker. Okay, and we're trying to apply that same logic and that same mindset, if you like, to the residential conveyancing market. Have as much information available up front, allow for more informed buyers and sellers, and then help them get that deal through to completion as quickly as possible, whilst also underwriting their risk. And if I do say so myself, I think that's pretty genius. But that's just what we're here to do, Shelley. So I'd love you to join us. Let me know if you want any more information, or you want me to walk you through the platform. I'd be happy to do a demo with you. The point is, we want to work alongside you guys and alongside estate agents as well. We don't want to necessarily we're not competing with anybody. We're literally providing the platform and the ecosystem as a method of exchange and communication as a community, if you like, between buyers, sellers, estate agents, and conveyancers. So more than happy to go into a lot more detail if you want that, Shelley. But get involved, get your feet wet. I think we're even offering a free 1 month trial as well if you want to get subscribed to that. No credit card required or what have you. Just jump straight in, join, see how you get on. Have a chat with us on there, and then if you want to upgrade and go the distance, then let's see what happens. All right. So thanks, Shelley. Wishing you all the best of luck, and let's see you on WiggyWam very soon. All right. Thanks ever so much. Okay, moving on. Question number 5 comes in from Frank. Hi there, Frank. Thank you for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. Frank says, we put our character property in a desirable area of northwest London up for sale in November 2022. Due to unforeseen circumstances, basically skint after giving up my career to look after my wife, we desperately need to sell. We went with the agent with the best reputation in our area, whose valuation, 1 of 4, fell in the middle. They also promised they'd be able to sell quickly. We've had hardly any viewings since instructing them. There are approximately 15 agents covering our area. 2 agents warned us the market was dead at this time of year and said it was made worse by the economy. We actually hear more often from the agents we didn't instruct than the one actually dealing with our property. They all claim they can sell it, but I don't understand what they could do differently, as it's on Rightmove as it's Rightmove that finds the buyer, which they all use. On the rare occasion I speak to my agent, they just say drop the price by 50 grand if you want to sell it. This makes no sense given our area. There are rundown properties similar to ours in good condition that are actually selling for more and have sold. Our agent doesn't bother with social media, and I worry that they will only be looking local. There's an artsy, trendy area nearby that would get more exposure, so I'm wondering whether we should be better off to go with an agent situated in one of those areas, or just see how things go. Well, okay, well, thank you for that question, Frank. Quite a bit going on there, and I'm sorry to hear that you've had that sort of situation where you're for want of a better expression, almost got the gun to your head in terms of needing to sell the property quickly and get out of there to release some cash to obviously look after your lady. This is a really interesting approach, and unfortunately, timing perhaps hasn't been as great as one would ideally like. if you've fallen into this trap of, you've gone to put the property up for sale at a time where the market's been doing that and been, rising, lots of interest, lots of properties selling very, very quickly. And then the timing you've come in is after the mini budget, is after interest rates have started to rise, it's after the cost of living crisis. And unfortunately, you can see automatically it's started to take the heat out of the market. And that may well be what you're dealing with right now. It's an interesting market in the northwest of London. And I think what your best option might be here is, assuming you're not in a tied to a 12-week marketing agreement, might be to look at going multi-agency or dual agency. So you've had 4 different agents look at your property. There's potentially 15 in your area that will agree to that want to sell it or would cover that area in terms of selling it. There is nothing to stop you instructing another estate agent on what's called a joint agency. So you have 2 agents or a multi-agency, which would be perhaps 3 or more agents that would come in and work their socks off to sell the property. Now, the one thing you're going to be faced with is that the fee for selling is likely to go up, because usually in these sorts of arrangements, most agents won't do a multi or a joint agency if it's on a winner-takes-all basis. Most of them will usually do a fee share of some description. It's usually 2/3, 1/3 in favour of the selling agent. So you might want to think about that, about what's the financial incentive you can offer those agents in order to look at selling the property as quickly as possible and getting the best possible price. Now, you've got a maths exercise to do here. If you're being told to drop the price by 50 grand, and you could actually increase the fee by a percentage point on either a winner takes all or a 2/3, 1/3 split, or whatever, 70/30, whatever ratio agents want to do, would 2, 3, 4 agents selling your property be able to get you a better figure than what you're currently experiencing, or more interest, more viewers, more foot traffic through the door, that would then give you more confidence that the property is desirable and people are interested in buying it and will just want to come and have a look and hopefully put an offer in. It is weird sometimes, and the reason I mention this, Frank, is because sometimes as agents, when I was in the agency game, you'd put a house on the market, you were convinced you would sell it tomorrow. You had people on your mailing list that you would call, or people in what used to be called the hot box in the old estate agency days, that you would go through your hot box, you'd find a potential buyer, and you go, I've got just the person for this. You'd call them up, and they've either found something, or they're not interested, or they go and have a look and they're like, yeah, we'll take a drive by, but we didn't like it. All of those sorts of things can happen. And then you have 3 months trying to sell the property, you don't sell it, the client takes it off the market, they put it up with one of your competitors, and then it's sold within a week. I mean, it used to drive you mad. You think, how, we worked their socks off, how did they sell it? And the same thing would happen in reverse as well. So sometimes I don't know whether it's something in the air or what, or whether it's down to luck. But the point being, from your point of view, obviously the sale and the certainty of the sale is the most important thing. So I would look at speaking to a couple of agents and say, look, I'm thinking about going joint agency or multi-agency on this. Can you tell me how that would work from your perspective? Is it something you're interested in, first of all? And secondly, if it is, what are we looking at fee-wise? Okay, and then get their input in terms of price. It is a common misnomer, if that's the right word to use here, that a lot of sellers have, that they think, well, I'm just choosing an agent to go with, and then they're just going to put it all out on the internet. And you mentioned probably the most popular search engine in the UK for property, and people think, well, it's on there, therefore any other agent's just going to do exactly the same. It doesn't come down just to that. There's a whole lot more that can go on behind the scenes, as I've just sort of highlighted. So talk to 2 or 3 other agents, see what their views are, see what they think in terms of price, see what they think in terms of the value that you're offering and the fee that it's going to cost you. And then I would look at going joint or multi-agency, or sacking the one that you've got working for you at the moment if they're not giving you the standard of service that you feel like you should be due, and then going joint or multi with another couple of agents. Okay. Couple of other things I want to say to you as well, Frank, just to help you along with your journey. Again, please don't take this as a massive sales pitch, because it's not what it's intended to be, but it is about helping you get from the marketing of the property through to exchange of contracts as quickly as possible. And the best way to do that in a safe manner is to, again, get your protect your pocket policy in place. That's through WiggyWam website. Go to wiggyWam.co.uk/protect your pocket. Okay, that is the first thing any buyer or seller needs to have in place as an indemnity policy for your costs of moving home, so that should the sale fall through for whatever reason, then you are protected in terms of your costs that have been spent out. You'll be able to recoup those through the policy. So that's the first thing you need without question. The second thing I'm going to ask you to get in place would be your seller's pack. And the reason I'm suggesting that as well is because you negate this issue of what I call crisis last minute negotiations, because sometimes what will happen is a buyer will change their mind, or they will try to argue that actually we didn't know that about the property when we put our offer in, and because we've now found that out, we're going to reduce the price that we're offering on the property. And the point of having the seller's pack is to provide as much information up front as you possibly can. So with your seller's pack and your twin search in place on top of that, that will put you in a very strong position where you're giving as much information up front as possible to any potential buyer that's coming to look at your home. Okay, that reduces the issue of last minute crisis negotiations, and gives you the added benefit that you're giving as much information as possible to your solicitor when it comes to sell the property and to hand it over to the legals. Okay. And by doing that, that again will cut down weeks and weeks and weeks of finding paperwork, of getting the searches together, of getting all the TA6 and TA10 forms together that you need to provide anyway as a result of doing this moving journey. So my question is, do you want to do it right up front when you've got this decision and this commitment to moving home? Do you want to do it then, or do you want to wait until you've got solicitors instructed and then wait another couple of weeks and then another couple of weeks and then get all this paperwork together and it's very disorganized, and then the buyer says, "Oh, I didn't know about this, I'm pulling out." All right, it just doesn't make any sense to me not to do this work up front. Okay, so that will really, really help you. And then if you want certainty of sale and you want 6 weeks exchange of contracts or being exchange ready within 6 weeks, then come on board with the conveyancing concierge service and we'll fast track that through for you. As a result of having all this information in place, it will make your solicitor's task a lot easier to get the deal done ASAP. So hope that helps. I wish you the very, very best of luck with this one, Frank. I really hope that the market doesn't grind to a halt completely. I like the fact that the heat has come out of it, because I think it makes for more sensible buying decisions for a lot of buyers, and also for sellers as well, because most sellers then tend to become buyers. All right. So I hope the heat hasn't come out of the market completely. Good luck with trying to sell it. If there's anything else that we can do to help and support you, let me know. I'll be more than happy to guide you as best I can. But I'm wishing you the best of luck, and see if the multi-agency thing solves the problem. All right. Okay, moving on. Question number 6 comes in here from Mally. Hi there, Mally. Thank you for your question and for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. So Mally says, I'm looking for advice on how to tackle issues with the property that I'm renting. I've recently discovered the landlord should do a yearly gas safety check. They did this once back in 2020 when a letting agent managed the property. I've installed my own carbon monoxide alarms, as I believe it's a silent killer. The conservatory is full of black mold and condensation that drips down the walls, also in the hallway. Legally, is it the landlord's job to fix this or mine? I'm afraid to bother the landlord for fear of being evicted or him putting the rent up, but the problem is getting progressively worse with the weather. Any help gratefully appreciated. All right then, Mally. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you're in that position. As a tenant, it's so frustrating sometimes when you're in that kind of situation where you don't want to upset the landlord, because you do have these fears, and it's quite natural as a tenant, because you don't feel as though you have security tenure is the sort of convoluted technical name for it, but it's not your property effectively. So you're renting it, and you do feel, oh my goodness, well, if I raise these issues, are they going to kick me out? The important point to say about this, Mally, there's two very serious issues here that need to be addressed. First and foremost, a landlord should be doing by law an annual gas safety check. That's not up for discussion. It's not up for argument. That's the law, and is opening himself wide open to prosecution. Now, it is one of these things that unfortunately is easily missed, or can be easily missed. It depends on how many properties the landlord's got and whatever else they've got going on in their lives. It may not be intentional, but it is worth flagging it with them that this gas safety check needs to be done. There is a suggestion in your question that the property used to be managed by a letting agent, and that's now not the case. So it's worth raising it with them. What I would do in your instance, Mally, is I would give the landlord a call rather than doing this via text or email, which can come across as a little bit cold, a little bit impersonal, and could potentially lead to things being taken out of context. So just give them a call and just say, look, I'm really sorry to do this, but I've got a couple of things that I just want to bring up with you, because I'm not sure whether they might have been missed or you may not know about them. First of all, is this gas safety check? And it might be something that, the landlord's gravely sorry about and goes, oh my goodness, it completely slipped my mind. I'm so sorry. I thought it had been sorted out. Let me get onto that straight away. I'll deal with it. Now, the second issue that you've raised is this black mold, of course, and condensation issue. I'm not entirely sure how this is actually being created as an issue, but it sounds to me as though there could be a lot of moisture present in those particular areas. You mentioned the hallway, and you also mentioned the conservatory. That is a potential health hazard, depending upon how bad it is. If you've got water running down the walls, it suggests as though there could be bigger issues, whether it is defective rainwater goods, for example, whether it's a burst or leaky pipe that's causing the issue, or whether or not it is lack of ventilation, purely something that is causing the issue. And the thing that to black mold is quite a big topic at the moment, because there was a young toddler whose name, unfortunately, I don't remember. But this was actually literally on the radio, I think, yesterday or today, and they were talking about this as a potential health hazard, and indeed it is if it's too far advanced and it's too serious an infestation. You may want to, if it's not too bad, you may want to look at, maybe mixing a little bit of bleach up in a little bit of hot water or warm water, and then just lightly applying it to the surface and gently scrubbing until the mold has actually disappeared. That might be one way to approach it. If it's too bad an issue, i.e., it looks like there's a real serious buildup of black mold in one particular corner or one area, then I would raise it as an issue. Now, again, this might sound crazy what I'm about to suggest, but it is worth contacting the landlord first and letting them know that this is an issue, because some landlords don't know. If your landlord's anything like me, when we used to hand over a property to a tenant, we would want to facilitate what's known as quiet enjoyment. And so, the property would be handed over, and we would literally leave the tenant to it and treat it as their own home and get on with living in it. And I'll never forget the first property that I bought. We did a really good job, renovated it all, did a lot of replastering, put new double glazed windows in, put a new central heating system in. I mean, we did the works, right? This property I thought was really nice when we handed it over. I was really disappointed that that we had to hand it over, because it was such a nice job when we'd done it. But we handed the property over, and after I think it was about 9 months, I got a call, and this was before I started using a letting agent, and they said, "I'm really sorry, but we've got a bit of a problem." And I said, "Can you come?" They said, "Can you come and have a look?" I said, "Yeah, of course, no problem. I'll come round." And the property had actually developed in the bedrooms this black mold issue, and what had happened, because we took an older property, and we'd sort of decrease the ventilation through new double glazed windows, and we'd increase the moisture content because there was a central heating system, and the tenant was using that to dry clothes and all the rest of it. All of a sudden, in the bedrooms, it started to build up this black mold, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Called my mate Phil, who was in the damp proofing game, and said, Phil, can you come and have a look at this? And he said, yeah, we just need to install a ventilation system. So they came in, they did a bit of a cleanup work, they installed a ventilation system into the roof space. And once there was that flow of air through the property, it cured the problem. There was never an issue with it again. And it may well be that, you know, there's either a source of moisture which is causing the excess moisture in the walls, which needs to be addressed first and foremost before anything else. And then secondly, either an increase in ventilation or an increase in warmth or heat. I'm guessing that the conservatory hasn't got any heat in it, etc., which is probably causing part of the problem. But give it a good clean up and see if that works. Or if, as I say, if it's too far gone, call the, you know, let the landlord know in any event. But if it's too far gone, they may need to get an expert in to address the problem. The one thing I will say is, assuming the landlord's cooperative and there seems to be no real issues between the two of you, give them a couple of days to get this organised and get people on the phone coming out to see you and all the rest of it. If you don't hear back within a couple of days, give them another follow-up call, or just say, just letting you know, I haven't heard anything. Just wonder if you can chase it up for me. And then I would give them the third bite of the cherry, which is, okay, I really need you to address this. And if you don't, I'm going to have to take it further. And that would be to then contact the local authority. If you haven't heard back from the landlord and they haven't addressed these issues, then it would be to contact the local authority housing officer or housing safety officer, as they're sometimes called, and then just file a complaint with them about what's going on with issues, because like black mold, which is fairly topical in the news at the moment, they're fairly quick to react on it. And the fact that the gas safety certificate has been outstanding for 2 and a bit years now, they're probably going to jump on that fairly quickly as well. They have more powers of enforcement to get the landlord to rectify these errors. And that would also give you a case to not be thrown out of the property, as it were. The landlord would have to be then very careful about how they go about through serving notice and then looking to evict you from the property. Obviously, they can't just turn up and throw you out. That's no longer the case in any stretch of the imagination. But the point is, you're trying to get this resolved. There is, unfortunately, a lot of bad press about landlords at the moment, unfortunately, for a lot of reasons. And interestingly, listening to this radio article this morning, they were talking about black mold in residential properties, but they were actually talking about social housing providers. And they'd put the survey out to all the social housing providers in the UK about black mold, and only a third of them responded. So they were saying, well, that's pretty terrible that this is their job to actually sort out, and none of them are actually responding to our survey. And the results we've got back from the third that did respond were pretty dire. So I hope that helps, Mally, to get the information that you want as quickly as possible from your landlord to get the support that you need. It may be very innocent that the landlord just doesn't know anything about this, and by you bringing it to their attention, best case scenario is they're going to deal with it very quickly. They're going to be very apologetic, and they're going to straighten things out for you as soon as possible. All right. So hope that helps, Molly. Thank you for your question, and wishing you the best of luck. If there's anything else you need from us, please do get in contact with me and let me know. All right. Thanks very much indeed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, that brings us to the end of today's webinar. We're just inside the 1 hour mark, which is incredible. So really happy about that, but also really happy that I've been able to address some more of your questions that you've been sending in to us. So thank you for that. If you'd like to send in any questions in the future, please feel free to do so. You can do that via our email address, which is happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. That's happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. And just put your questions on an email to us there. You can go to our website, which is wiggywam.co.uk. That's wiggywam.co.uk, and you can sign up for a profile on there. Feel free to submit your questions that way. You can find us on any of the social media. I think we're now on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and goodness knows where else. Tumblr, I think we're on, and some of the other of these social media sites. So feel free, through any of those marketing channels, you can get in contact with us, or on Twitter as well. Twitter handle is @WiggyWam_UK. So that's @WiggyWam_UK. And we'd love to field your questions in one of next week's shows or in the future. Again, if you'd like to become on as a guest to our WiggyWam Get Your Property Questions Answered podcast, or if you'd like to come on one of our expert corner interviews that we're going to be doing with other industry professionals, feel free to let me know. Get in contact with us. Again, email address happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. It would be a delight to organise something and get you on one of our future episodes. So thanks so much for your time, care and attention today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. If you have not yet got your profile set up on WiggyWam, I encourage you to go there immediately, if not sooner. Check out the website, set up a free profile on the site, and start to share that with your friends and family, because I know now as the market begins to turn, they're going to need a lot more help and support with their moving journey. Things are going to get tougher rather than easier, and we're here to help and support them in every step of the way possible. All right, so please go to there, wiggywam.co.uk, set up your free profile, get started on there, start to invite your friends and family. We're going to build a real community of amazing evangelists, if you like, towards the property revolution. And I am looking forward to seeing you all on a future webinar very soon. All right, so thanks again. Take care.